A story can get you to jump for joy, cry for tender moments, or even be frustrated at an unfair situation that can even fill you with rage. Attack on Titan was an incredible story that was able to make you feel all of these emotions, with an incredible twist and turns. The author of Attack on Titan, Hajime Isayama, was more than a mere writer. He was a chef who was busy crafting only the finest dishes, masterpieces of culinary delights, and we, the audience, eagerly awaited each dish. But as the ending of the story drew near, a hunger grew in the audience. And while us manga readers had already tasted Isayama's final dish, the anime was held at gunpoint. But even still, we all waited to see what dessert this long-awaited finale would taste like. And unfortunately, in a somewhat shocking turn of events, the dessert came out sour, spoiling the entire meal. And despite efforts of many fans to try to salvage and savor the moments that came before, when we left home, all we felt was the bitter and repugnant taste of that last dish. This, unfortunately, reflects the ending of Attack on Titan, an otherwise exceptional narrative with an unsavory and borderline disgusting twist. And this is why Attack on Titan was ruined. Normally in these types of videos, the person writing the script will break down every single aspect of the story. But I feel like with Attack on Titan, there was only a single mistake that led to the destruction of AOT's narrative, and that would be Eren Jaeger's fall from grace. It will be through examining Eren Jaeger's growth as a character and how the plot forms around him to bring the story to its peak. And then after examining his rise, I'll discuss his fall as a character and how the plot bends over backwards in order to force Eren to regress into a character he never was. The first thing we see of Eren is a young boy waking up from a nightmare, or as he describes it, a very long dream. And he's crying for reasons we'd find out much later. However, at the core of Eren's character is someone who yearns for freedom. And after his mother's death, he is given the extra motivation of eradicating his enemies in order to achieve that freedom. As a child, that motivation becomes all Titans. Eren would essentially stay in a state of frustration and anger for the better part of 2 seasons. And so before we move on to how these motivations evolve, let's discuss how the twists and turns of the story not only challenge these motivations, but also caters to them. I'll be doing this by discussing what I believe are the most important moments of Eren's development up until season 2. That being Eren's transformation into a Titan, Annie, Berthold, and Reiner's reveal, and lastly, the mission towards the basement. And I'll try to be somewhat quick and to the point. In discussing Eren's first transformation, this one's pretty simple, as him being able to transform into a Titan simply gives him the ability he needs to fight back and actually achieve his goals. You see, without this ability, Eren would have simply died back in episode 5. And so the plot caters to his desire to eradicate the Titans by allowing him to have this power. This is a pretty typical plot device used in many stories. Naruto has Kurama, Luke has the Force, Goku has to become the legendary Super Saiyan, and etc. Moving on, I'm going to lump Annie's reveal with Reiner and Berthold's because they essentially accomplish the same thing. In both situations, Eren is confronted with 2 harsh realities. The first of which being the belief that he was somehow special or chosen to wield such a power, and being forced to realize that he isn't, with the second one being the uncomfortable truth that he was not ready to face yet. that the world isn't black or white, that not all the Titans are the enemies or the monsters. See, the reasons that I'm looking at these moments in particular is because they highlight great examples of how the plot works in cohesion to push Eren's character development further without breaking the logic of the story. Humans being able to turn into Titans not only makes sense because they look like humans, so naturally there's an obvious foreshadowing that this is the case, but because structurally it allows Eren to be able to act on his own motivations in a logical way and gives the story perfect avenue to commentate on the downfall of humanity. The warrior's betrayal not only illustrates to the audience that Eren is also not special or unique, but it also builds on the aforementioned foreshadowing that all the Titans are humans, but also forces the audience and Eren to question what possible motives do these characters have for causing such mass destruction and death. So once we get to the ending, we will do the same process of breaking down these individual moments and understanding why it's not a natural progression of not only the plot, but also Eren's character, because this all ties back into how Eren develops, so the plot develops. This brings us to the introduction of the basement key, which of course is the most important plot element within the story and to Eren's development. The basement key is only introduced because of Eren's desire for freedom pushing Grisha to act. The act of finding the basement key leads to a domino effect of Eren becoming a Titan, the warriors realizing he was a founding Titan, which led to their betrayals, Eren joining the Survey Corps, Eren's capture to the Rice family, and Grisha taking the founding Titan in the first place. Of course, the basement is important to everything that happens in Season 3. But again, what's interesting about the basement compared to other plot elements is that it's a result due to Eren's own actions. As I mentioned earlier, Eren causes Grisha to act, so rather than the plot trying to support or challenge him, the plot is actually set into motion because of him. This makes Eren an active character, one who pushes the plot along rather than allows the story to simply happen to him. You see, Eren is the type of character that takes control of his destiny, and he's actually shown to get angry at others who refuse to step up. This has been a core part of Eren's character since the beginning. But in Season 3, there is a slight shift. In Season 3, Eren struggles to come to terms with the realities of discovering his place in this conflict, and he begins to question his own morality. This leads Eren to take a more passive role in the story as kind of a cog of machine type of approach. Season 3 has a lot to break down, so I'll be condensing things together. In this section, we'll look at the sins of the father, Eren accepting his role with Kala's words, and the basement reveal. And just like I did previously, I'll discuss how these aspects push Eren's character forward and why everything we've talked up till now resulted in Eren's statement at the beach. Starting with the sins of the father, Eren discovers that Grisha murdered the Rice family, and he also gave Eren the power of the founding Titan. This not only reinforces Eren's mindset that he wasn't special, but leads him to believe that things would have been better off if he was dead. This is because Eren starts to believe that the Rice family would have stopped the invasion of the walls. Now of course Eren doesn't have all the information yet, but this is the moment in Eren where he switches to a more passive role in the story. For example, this leads him to begging Historia to take his life and finish the story. Later on, this also changes Eren's mindset from a person who believes that he should rely on himself to an Eren who's willing to follow the orders of others and let people like Armin take command of the situation. It is at this point that the plot has forced him to confront his beliefs and reinforce truths that he was not yet willing to accept, which places him at a crossroads. To the character he could become versus the character he always was. On one hand, there's an active Eren who takes freedom into his own, versus another one who still fights for freedom but relies on others to help him get the job done. The ending of Season 3 will solidify which Eren is going to finish this story. Moreover, Carla's words about her son only reinforce the idea that he isn't special, but this also adds a new layer to Eren's character that wasn't there previously. And that's the fact that his desire for freedom, or the right he has to be free, can simply be boiled down to the simple truth that he was. This simple idea made Eren realize that he didn't need to be special to desire his dream or have his abilities, a foundational aspect of his character moving forward. All these plot points would converge during the basement reveal, but before we dive into that, let's go over how Eren got to this point. He started off yearning for freedom. The plot then gave him a clear roadblock / enemy to his goal. He was given the tools to fight back with a new mindset of being special. That mindset was completely destroyed by these reveals, and the black and white mindset was challenged, obscuring his secondary roadblock of who the enemy actually is. Then the plot confirmed that he wasn't special, but it didn't matter. This brings us to the Eren who is willing to take a step back and allow his friends to help him reach his goals. It's important for us to see how the narrative naturally progresses Eren through each event, because everything we've talked up till now will culminate with the basement reveal. You see, after the basement reveal, many people would say that everything changes for Eren. But actually, nothing really changes at all, except things are just revealed. Upon reaching the basement, nearly everything Eren believed in up to this point was completely shattered. But the foundations of his character were reaffirmed. For example, the enemy was no longer the Titans or the Warriors group, but it became the entire world. So on one hand, Eren's motivations were shattered with the Titans not being his goal anymore, but on the other hand, they were reaffirmed, with his goal still remaining the same: crush the enemy to get to freedom. No longer could Eren believe in his friends because only he could see all of time. The burden of the past, the present, and the future was placed on his shoulders. This made everyone else a slave to the decisions that they would make, because only Eren would be able to change his future. Though he didn't get this power because he was special, he is special for having this power. But most importantly, the basement revealed to Eren that the only way to achieve his freedom is to fight. Something he's always knew all along, but another thing that had to get reaffirmed to him. This is why the scene at the ocean is so powerful. Eren realizes that the only way to his birthright of freedom is to become like the very monsters that stole his freedom in the first place. Just like the other moments we've discussed, the plot weaves itself in a way that services Eren's character growth. Each new arc pushes Eren's character to evolve, and the reason that I said everything changes but stays the same is because the Eren we see in season 4 up until the last episode is essentially the same Eren we see back in episode 1. Eren literally states this in chapter 122. Yet the Eren we saw in season 3 tried straying away from this mindset. Earlier we discussed how the plot was going to force Eren to make a choice, and in the next section we will discuss how that choice plays into the ending. The final season sets the stage for who Eren truly is as a character. But just like Eren's character progression, the plot's themes of the cycle of hatred come into its own. Similar to how we did before, we will break down 3 moments that are integral to Eren's character arc at this time. These moments are the declaration of war, the conversation with Armin and Mikasa, the journey into the past where Zeke forces Eren to relive his past. Afterwards, I will discuss the rumbling and why Eren's plan makes no goddamn sense, thus destroying AOT's plot and regressing Eren's character. In this scene, when Eren has evolved to someone who's not only accepted the world isn't black or white, but also understands it, this is the first time we've seen Eren since the time skip. And in this scene, Isayama confirms which path Eren took at the end of Season 3. Eren asks Reiner questions about why he broke the wall to kill his mother. Oh, and by the way, boo-boo, we will come back to this. Eren then disregards the notion that he'll make them suffer just to get vengeance for vengeance sake. This entire scene demonstrates Eren becoming the same monster that destroyed his hometown. To Eren, simply being born into this world means that you deserve the right to be free. When Willie says this, Eren's eye opens as if he awoke from that same dream. This scene in his rampage on Marley is all a direct parallel to the Colossal Titan breaking the gates to Eren's hometown, and directly highlights why AOT's writing was so genius. Eren is the vehicle for such a fantastic story, because all of the major plot developments happen through him, and most people would think obviously because he's the main character. However, there are plenty stories where the plot would be either possible without the main character, or the story forces the main character into the plot that didn't need him. But I already have a video on that, so you can go check that out if you want. Again, the point is that Eren and the plot work together to directly highlight his character / the story's themes of the cycle of hatred, with multiple statements / parallels of how these two characters are one and the same. Moving on to the slave scene, this moment is more focused on Eren's character rather than the plot. A lot of people have this idea that this scene represents how Eren is a slave to freedom or whatever. And I'm gonna break down why this is incorrect in a moment. However, I want to discuss why Eren hating Mikasa actually makes a lot of sense versus him secretly being in love with her the entire time. There are plenty of moments earlier in the story that illustrate Eren's dislike of Mikasa. Now, usually this is due to the fact that he doesn't want to be treated like a little kid or babied, but he never shows any romantic interest in her. Eren and Mika shippers base their entire ship on the fact that Eren and Mikasa are the main characters and the founding Titan scene. But for God's sake, she goes in for a kiss and he no-dips her! People will say, well, this is because Isayama is bad at writing love. But this honestly doesn't matter, because so far as the story is concerned, these two have a one-sided relationship. And it's another reason that the ending falls apart, but we will get back to that later. But in trying to talk about this moment again, as this conversation ties back into the realization that Eren has after awakening his future past memories, when Eren kissed Historia's hand, he became the only person that knew everything that would happen. Thus, the realization that he is the only true person that is free in this moment, as we talked about earlier. This scene is Eren explaining that to them and further cementing his character arc. Moving to the past scene, the most important thing here is Eren states, "I am who I have always been from the moment I was born." This is why earlier I mentioned that nothing truly changed about Eren, because this was his character the entire time. He essentially has always been the same. The past scene is so important because again it solidifies Eren's goals while also illustrating the full circle narrative that Isayama has literally built up from chapter 1. Most people know that the first episode is titled To You in 2,000 Years, and episode 80 is titled From You 2,000 Years Ago. Full circle storytelling, people! The past scene explains why Eren had those dreams in the beginning, why Grisha gave Eren the serum, why he ate the Rice family, and establishes Eren as one who can break the cycle of hatred. As Ymir has been waiting 2,000 years, finally, for someone that can help her break this curse. Like literally, the entire story built up this moment, laid the groundwork for its themes, used methodical planning that was ruined by the ending. All right, let's talk about the rumbling. This is where all the cracks begin to show, but it takes a while for them to pile up. AOT is still at its peak storytelling until chapter 137, which is like somewhere in the last episode. I don't know, I haven't seen it yet, it hasn't come out. But unlike the other parts we've discussed, we will only talk about one scene in the rumbling because the most important reason as to why the ending doesn't work, and I'll also cover the Alliance's plan. The scene we'll be discussing is Eren's conversation with himself when he's walking through Marley. During this conversation with himself, Eren talks through how he's going to kill these people and even contemplates what his mom would think. Something we are going to get back to. However, he also ponders if the Eldians should die. Since there are fewer of them, then why don't they be the ones to perish? But just like in the past, Eren declares that he just can't accept that. And this is all we really need to see. Because it is the ultimate confirmation of Eren's true character. A flawed individual who fights for what he believes in, no matter the logic. But okay, let's quickly go over the Alliance's plan. The issue isn't the fact that they are morally against genocide. I mean, that's pretty bad. But the issue is that they have literally no plan. John explains that previously they had 4 years to figure out what to do. Even Hanji says, no matter what, genocide is wrong. Which, again, is true. However, the entire world is ready to murder all of you. That is genocide. They are also in the wrong, yes, but you have no plan how to solve it. How are you going to solve this issue at all? Eren has already murdered damn near all of Marley, and he's taking out other places. There is no scenario in which you guys aren't going to be killed by everyone outside in the world. Like, as soon as the rumbling started, these guys sold. It was over. But hey, we're gonna get to that too. Let's finally talk about this. This is character assassination at its finest. Everything we've talked about up to this point in terms of Eren's character gets utterly destroyed. So let's focus on all of those issues in every single part of this chapter that relates to Eren's character and why it ruins literally everything. We're gonna talk about Eren's stupid plan and this apparent love for Mikasa. So in chapter 139, it opens up with Eren explaining to Armin at the sea scene. Remember how I said we're gonna get back to that? And for the people who say, Isayama's been cooking since the very beginning, what the hell did he cook this? Because during the entire scene, there is literally no indication that he is creating or cooking in this moment. When we spoke about the Warriors reveal or Ymir waiting for Eren, there was plenty of groundwork laid down. All of the reveals up until 139 had great foreshadowing, yet we visit this moment so many times that he doesn't even foreshadow it once? Let's tie this back to Eren's character arc, because oh my lord! You know how I said that the plot and Eren worked together to craft such an amazing story? The plot does the same thing here, but it's awful. Oh, you need Eren to murder a bunch of people, but not kill all of them, so the Alliance can get off the hook because now they're viewed as heroes? Oh, okay. We'll make Eren do it. Why, you ask? I don't know. Need Eren to go back in time, kill his mother? You remember how I said we would come back to this? The source of his motivation? Nigga, you killed him! We are not even done because this man's sudden character shift, yes, his sudden character shift. For all those people out there saying Eren was like this all along and he was just a little crybaby. All I have to say is I went through the last however long this clip is to explain that this is not the case. I don't know what you're seeing. Now, if we analyze Eren's plan for more than 5 little seconds, it's pretty easy to see that his plan makes absolutely no sense. He destroyed 80% of the world because they won't be able to go into battle anytime soon. Or, I guess what Eren meant is, they can't take revenge soon. That makes sense, right? Oh, I guess not. Eren also left the island with a bunch of Jaegerists who planned to continue fighting after he died. And this idea that anyone would see these guys as heroes is laughable. It's laughable. Their problem wasn't just with Eren, it was with the entire race, all of Eldia, not just one person. This just made things worse, not better. But I already explained why being a savior is not going to work. These people don't like you. They hate you. Oh my lord. Also, Eren, you're telling us about this new plan that you've had from the beginning. Why was it that back in that episode, you were talking about something completely different? You were talking to yourself. Nobody else was there. But all of a sudden it went from I'm gonna kill everybody so I can keep my people alive to now what's gonna happen is actually I'm gonna make these guys heroes. You weren't thinking of that. That's not what your original plan was. You weren't saying, hey, what would my mom think? But then I killed her? Eren, why? So let's just move on with Eren's love for Mikasa. I've already explained why this doesn't make any sense, so instead of focusing on that, I'll focus on how this alters the plot and of course ruins the story. The first issue with this scene is that in tying it with Eren's plan, the series drops a few plot points. The first one dropped is Historia's child possibly being somebody else outside of the nameless farmer, which completely ruined the importance of her character in the final season because all she does is get pregnant? The series even draws importance to the child being born during the rumbling, all for it to go nowhere. This reads as an obvious shift from when Historia asked Eren what if she got pregnant, indicating that Eren had something to do with the child's birth. Whether that is him being the father, him selecting the father, or some kind of plan altogether. But my god, obviously this can't happen if Eren loves Mikasa. So the storylines dropped. The next plot line that doesn't exactly get dropped, but more mishandled, is Ymir's reason for wanting to be free. You see, Eren says, "Lend me your strength." He then says, "You've been waiting for this whole time, for 2,000 years, for someone." Then Ymir gives Eren the strength to fight back. They even stand together just to show us that Eren was the one she waited for. But as of 139, it's now Mikasa! Who Ymir was waiting for. And what's worse is, in order to drive this parallel home, Eren says that she was in love with this man. Are you serious? She was in love with the man that abused her, cut her tongue out, forced her to have kids, and made her a slave? Bro even made his daughters eat their mother. Like, these two have nothing in common. Eren being mean to Mikasa sometimes is not the same as a piece of garbage abusing Ymir. It is so forced and disgusting. I can't stand people who try to defend this. This is like defending Griffith. The plotline is also terrible for Mikasa's character, because instead of her learning how to live beyond Eren, she stays attached to him for life. Even on her deathbed, she's wearing that stupid scarf. Another issue with this is that because of this plotline, Eren is able to manipulate Mikasa's memories to give her this dream sequence where they live together. But we know that's impossible because we learned this from Kenny when he talked to his grandpa. This is why the Ackermans were purged in the first place. I'm about 42 pages deep into making another video about a ruined character that I really care about. But at least in JJK, the story wasn't ruined. Like, guys, Eren turns into a freaking bird. A bird. He fought this entire series to become a bird. Just let that sink in. You can say, it's not definitive or whatever. Bro, look at this page, man. She says, thank you for always wrapping your scarf around me. And then says his name. That's it. Tataka. Man. The point of this video was to highlight how Attack on Titan became such a great story by bending to Eren's character in order to make him grow, and to discuss how it was ruined in the same way with the same method, just mishandling it. Of course, I didn't go through everything because that would have taken 1,000 years and I am not here for that. But I covered the things that were important to me, especially if they were specific to Eren, and of course, why I didn't like it. Hey guys! School has really been kicking my ass, I'm not gonna lie, so expect shorter videos for the next month. Also, for those of you who have been interested in my original story, Project Rebirth, we've been working on some concept panels recently, but nothing yet to show, okay? And we're not there yet. But we got a few concepts, so here are some of them right now. And of course, put some music videos, like concept stuff on the channel with a lot of artwork. But just know that I've got a fantastic team behind me. Everyone is amazing. And you know, while I'm struggling to pay it off, it's all freaking worth it. But expect to hear more about it soon. Peace.